I'm not afraid of you, Mr. Chairman. 5 words. That's all it took for Senator Cory Booker to silence an entire hearing room. Not shouting at the committee chairman, shouting at FBI Director Kash Patel, who just tried to lecture him about bringing the country together after dodging every question for 40 minutes. Watch Patel's face when Booker says it. Watch him realize that his title, Trump's backing, none of it makes him untouchable in that room. This wasn't a hearing, this was a reckoning. March 27, 2026, Senate Judiciary Committee. The moment Cory Booker stopped being polite and started documenting every lie Patel told under oath. Subscribe now because what happens in the next 12 minutes will define this entire investigation. Kash Patel thought he was walking into just another hearing. Sit down, dodge questions, throw out statistics, walk away clean. He'd done it before. But nobody told him Senator Cory Booker was done being polite, done being professional, done letting this man sit there and smirk while the FBI gets gutted from the inside. March 27, 2026, Senate Judiciary Committee Oversight Hearing. Patel arrived at 10:03 a.m. with his usual confidence. 4 lawyers, 2 aides, that look he does. The "I've survived worse" posture. For the first hour, he handled questions the way he always did. Deflect, pivot to statistics, run out the clock. Then Cory Booker took the microphone. Director Patel, I want to start where we left off last time. I asked you whether you had any knowledge or discussions about removing FBI officials and installing political personnel before you were confirmed. Did you have conversations with the White House about those intentions? Patel didn't hesitate. Before I was confirmed? No. So you're saying you had no discussions with the White House before you were in the position about the removal of any personnel from the agency? As I was preparing for my confirmation hearing, I had numerous discussions involving the type of people that would be employed, and that those failing to meet the mark at the FBI would no longer be employed if and I'm assuming that mark had to do with loyalty to the Trump administration. Patel's jaw tightened. No, you're wrong. Booker didn't blink. Okay, I'd like to revisit another subject from that hearing. You testified before a grand jury that President Trump had declassified the documents at issue in the Mar-a-Lago case. Is that correct? I don't have the grand jury transcript. That's why I released it. Whatever it says is the best evidence. Booker's voice sharpened. You told Senator Whitehouse that your grand jury testimony was publicly released. It has not been. In fact, in July, a court denied a news outlet's bid to get that transcript. But the court said quite clearly that you are free to discuss your grand jury testimony. So I ask you again, did you testify before the grand jury that President Trump declassified the documents? That is why I took your invitation to work with the department to have that transcript released. The transcript is the best evidence. So you're saying right now this committee can have access to what you said before the grand jury? To whatever was released, under my understanding. You and I both understand the law, Booker interrupted. Let me finish. Under Rule 6 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure, a grand jury witness, in this case you, is not barred from sharing their testimony. This is an oversight hearing. This is germane to your integrity and credibility. You know right now whether or not you testified that President Trump declassified the documents. Why are you refusing to answer that simple yes or no question? Because the premise of your question is inaccurate. There is no premise to my question. I'm trying to get to an order of what is truth or not. How do you know what was asked in the grand jury if you weren't there? Booker leaned forward. Director Patel, this is a mockery you're making of this hearing. The temperature in the room shifted. This wasn't standard congressional theater anymore. This was personal. During your nomination, Booker continued, voice harder now, you promised that all FBI employees will be protected against political retribution. When I asked if you were aware of any plans to punish FBI agents associated with investigations of Donald Trump, you explicitly said under oath you were not aware of any such plans. I don't believe you were truthful. He pulled out a document. Firing FBI employees based solely on their case assignments is illegal, and you know that. A new lawsuit filed by 3 FBI officials alleges that you carried out Donald Trump's campaign of retribution against FBI employees for failure to demonstrate sufficient political loyalty. Booker held up the document. One of those plaintiffs is Brian Driscoll, 20 years of distinguished service, special agent in charge of FBI's Newark field office, Medal of Valor winner, Shield of Bravery Award, a patriot. You terminated Driscoll via letter dated October 8, 2025, and in that letter you said you were firing him pursuant to Article 2 of the Constitution. He paused. Well, you're not the President of the United States, so under what authority were you allowed to terminate him? Patel shifted. That matter is under litigation, and I'm not able to discuss it. Okay, discuss this. Did you have discussions with Stephen Miller about firing this particular person or about his continuance in the FBI? Not that I recall. How often do you speak to Stephen Miller? Frequently, on our Homeland Security task forces. Booker's eyebrows went up. You frequently talk with Stephen Miller about subjects other than Homeland Security task force issues, correct? I frequently talk to Mr. Miller about Homeland Security task forces. Has Stephen Miller ever given you his opinions on how to run your agency? Mr. Miller's interagency operations are invaluable to the FBI. That's what we talk about. So you frequently discuss your job and your responsibilities with Stephen Miller. And Pam Bondi, I imagine, as well. Absolutely, she's the Attorney General. Booker nodded slowly. The admission was on the record now. The FBI Director takes instructions from Stephen Miller, a White House political operative with no law enforcement experience. Donald Trump promised to make us all safer, Booker said. You've pushed out senior FBI agents with decades of knowledge and experience. In fact, this is the first time in FBI history that neither the director nor the deputy director have any experience with the FBI. You've shifted the agency's priorities primarily to pursuing Donald Trump's immigration enforcement agenda. He pulled out another document. According to ICE data, the Cato Institute, a conservative think tank, found that 20% of all FBI agents have been diverted from their work to assist ICE with immigration enforcement. 20%. Have there been any FBI agents who investigate crimes against children that have been assigned to immigration enforcement? Yes or no? The premise of what you're saying is entirely. You don't get to say the premise is wrong. Booker's voice rose. America is not safer under this administration. You're making a presumption. America is safer because of the work of the FBI. FBI agents who investigate human trafficking have been reassigned to immigration enforcement. You're not denying that. FBI agents on task forces that fight Russian oligarchs have been reassigned. Public corruption squads reassigned. People who defend children reassigned. You're not denying that. Patel sat silent. I've seen you time and time again attack my colleagues' premises as a way to not answer questions. So let me end with this. Booker's voice got quieter, more dangerous. I believe you have made our country weaker and less safe. I believe we are more vulnerable to a major event, and I pray to God it doesn't happen. You've gutted the Bureau of Institutional Knowledge and Expertise. You've fired or pushed out seasoned FBI officials, many with more than 20 years of experience working on critical cases. You've been purging thousands of serious law enforcement officials who spent their careers keeping us safe, only to lower hiring standards to find anyone to replace them. He paused. And shockingly, you admitted in this hearing to Senator Coons that it would take 14 years to fill the vacancies at your agency. Many are the result of your purge. 20% of FBI agents are doing low-level immigration enforcement instead of mission-critical work. You've disbanded entire task forces that stop election interference, foreign influence, public corruption. Booker leaned forward. And who benefits from this? Corrupt people benefit. Criminals benefit. Vladimir Putin benefits. It makes me wonder who you're looking out for. It makes me think we can't trust you as a nation. He ticked off each point. You swore to release the Epstein files. Now you're withholding them. You claimed you had a suspect in a serious assassination attempt. Then you didn't. You knew nothing about plans to remove FBI agents. Yet you're directly involved in those plans. Booker's voice carried absolute moral authority now. In the words of an ex-FBI official, you are overseeing generational destruction of the nation's premier law enforcement agency. In just 8 months, you have assaulted the institutional integrity of the FBI. I know FBI field agents. I've worked with them in Newark. No matter how truly bad you are, you can't undermine the legacy of agents who fight every day to keep us safe. But you can tarnish the integrity of the agency and undermine its capacity. He looked directly at Patel. I believe you're failing as a leader, and your failure has serious implications for the safety and security of Americans and our families. We're more vulnerable to domestic and foreign attack because of your failures of leadership. I don't think you're fit to head the Bureau. Then Booker said the words that would trend worldwide. But here's the thing, Mr. Patel. I think you're not going to be around long. I think this might be your last oversight hearing, because as much as you supplicate yourself to the will of Donald Trump and not the Constitution of the United States of America, Donald Trump has shown us, in his first term and in this term, he is not loyal to people like you. He will cut you loose. The room went silent. This may be the last time I have a hearing with you, because I don't think you're long for your job. But I'm going to tell you this. I pray for you. I pray that you can step up, defend your oath, defend the Constitution, and do a much better job defending this country. Booker sat back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The chairman looked at Patel. Do you want to say anything? And that's when Patel made his fatal mistake. That rant of false information does not bring this country together. If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours. Booker's voice cut through like a blade. My God, my God. You want to talk about dividing this country? I follow you on your social media posts that tear this country apart. You can try all you want in this country to not take responsibility for what you have said. He pointed at the chairman. Sir, you're the chairman of this committee. Sir, you don't tell me my time is over. The people of New Jersey tell me what my time is. You can't lecture me. And then Booker turned to face Patel directly. You may be the director, but I am not afraid of you, Mr. Chairman. He corrected himself, voice steady. I'm not afraid of you. Dead silence. Patel sat frozen. His lawyers didn't move. The chairman didn't speak. For 5 full seconds, nobody in that room breathed. Cory Booker had just looked the FBI director in the face and said the words every senator was thinking, but nobody else would say. I'm not afraid of you. Within minutes, the clip went viral. Hashtag not afraid of you, trending worldwide. Cable news cutting to the exchange. Legal analysts breaking down every accusation Booker made. And somewhere in the White House, people were probably watching that clip and wondering how long Kash Patel would last. Because Booker was right. Trump doesn't stay loyal to people who become liabilities. And after that hearing, after admitting he takes direction from Stephen Miller, after refusing to answer about grand jury testimony, after getting exposed for purging 20% of the FBI to chase immigrants, Patel just became the biggest liability in Washington. I'm not afraid of you. 5 words that ended a career.